The news spread across Valoran Prime long before Captain Elias Ward stepped off his shuttle. Everyone in the Great Star Station seemed to be talking about the same thing. The Aurelian princess had issued her challenge again. Some said she had already defeated 30 warriors that morning. Others claimed the number was closer to 50. Nobody agreed on the exact count. But everyone agreed on one thing: no one had touched her. Not even once. People moved through the halls, whispering about the princess, as if she could appear at any moment. Valoran Prime was used to strange rumors, but this one had a different energy. The station hummed with excitement. Merchants, travelers, bounty hunters, star pilots, even diplomats paused their work to talk about her. The Aurelian Empire was known for its disciplined armies and advanced technology, but the princess was something else entirely. Her armor, an old family relic, was a living crystal suit that shifted like liquid metal and shone like starlight. It protected her from almost everything: heat, sound, blades, energy blasts, even gravity changes. Some believed it reacted to her thoughts. Others said it had a mind of its own. No one had ever beaten her in ceremonial combat, and she made sure everyone knew it. Elias heard all of this as he walked toward the central plaza. He was a tall man, not bulky but strong in a quiet way. His steps were steady, his dark hair a little messy from travel. He wore simple clothes, nothing that suggested he planned on fighting anyone. Most people passed by him without noticing. Humans were not rare on Valoran Prime, but they weren't common either. Other species towered over them or glowed or floated, making humans seem almost plain. Elias didn't mind. He preferred being ignored. As he walked, he listened to the crowd. She defeated the Draxan twins in under 10 seconds. I heard she can predict movements before they happen. No one can even get close to her. That armor is impossible. She's doing it again in the arena soon. They say the next challenger is already waiting. Elias almost smiled. Rumors always grew bigger the further they traveled. Still, he knew the princess's reputation wasn't exaggerated by much. The Aurelians were proud, almost painfully so. If their princess was challenging others, she was serious about it. He had come to Valoran Prime for peaceful discussions, not combat. Humanity was still new to interstellar diplomacy, and the Alliance wanted someone calm and patient to represent them. Elias was good at that. He could speak when needed, listen when it mattered, and stay quiet when nothing good would come from words. He wanted to complete his mission and return home. But life rarely followed personal plans. The central plaza came into view wide, circular, and full of travelers from every corner of known space. A shimmering shield surrounded the combat arena in the middle, keeping spectators safe. The platform inside glowed as if alive. Above it floated a dozen projectors displaying the rules of ceremonial duel in bright symbols. The crowd pressed close to the barriers, leaving only one side open, where guards in golden armor stood watching. At the center of the arena stood Princess Ceres Vaelthara. Her presence hit Elias like a wave. She was tall for her species, graceful and sharp, with eyes like polished silver. But it was her armor that truly drew attention. It hovered around her like a second skin made of shifting crystal plates. Each plate lit up with tiny pulses of blue light. When she moved, the armor moved faster, anticipating her motion. She looked bored. Her latest challenger, a bulky reptilian warrior, lay groaning on the edge of the arena. He had been thrown across the platform so quickly that most spectators barely saw the strike. The princess flicked her wrist, and the arena reset, the floor flashing clean again. "Next," she said, her voice calm but carrying across the entire plaza. Her guards turned toward the waiting area. Several alien fighters stood there, but none stepped forward. A murmur rose from the crowd. "She's scaring them away." "I don't blame them. Isn't there anyone left?" Elias stopped near the railing. He didn't want to get involved. Truly, he didn't. But he could see something others seemed blind to. Princess Saris wasn't challenging warriors for pride. She was lonely. Her face gave it away. She looked like someone who had trained all her life, obeyed traditions, honored her people, and found no equal. She looked like someone who wanted a real fight, not easy victories, not mock battles where armor did half the work. The way she studied her defeated opponents made it clear she wasn't seeking to humiliate them. She was searching. For what? Elias wasn't sure. But he understood the feeling. The guards waited. The fighters hesitated. The crowd grew restless. And then, before Elias could stop himself, he heard his own voice say. Half the plaza turned to stare at him. Someone laughed. A few whispered. Some were confused. One alien asked loudly if humans had a death wish. The guards exchanged looks. Princess Saris tilted her head slightly. You, she said, not unkindly but with surprise. You carry no armor. Elias shrugged. I don't need any. The crowd erupted. Some laughed harder. Others whispered that humans must be reckless or foolish. The princess studied him, her expression unreadable. After a few seconds, she nodded. Very well, she said. Step forward. Elias walked through the open gate. The moment he stepped onto the arena floor, the shield rose behind him, sealing the combat circle. The air changed. It felt heavier, charged with energy from the battlefield systems. Princess Saris moved a few steps closer. Her armor shifted with a soft chime of crystal. Up close, Elias could see tiny light patterns flowing across the plates like living veins. What is your name, human? She asked. Elias Ward. Captain? Not today, he said. She almost smiled. Her armor's glow brightened for a moment. Very well, Elias Ward. You know the rules? A single clean strike wins. Defeat or surrender ends the match. I know, he replied. And you still stand before me without armor? Yes. The crowd leaned in, breathless, waiting for the moment the match would begin. Princess Saris lifted her hand. The arena lights shifted. Energy hummed through the floor. Her armor rearranged itself in a sleek formation around her body. Elias breathed in slowly. A diplomat walking into a duel. A princess waiting for a challenge worthy of her skill. A crowd expecting him to fall in seconds. None of that mattered now. The match began with a single chime, and Elias stepped forward. The moment the duel began, the arena floor pulsed with soft blue light, marking the countdown. Princess Saris moved first, but not with an attack. She took a slow step to the side, testing Elias the way a seasoned warrior studied a new opponent. Her movements were smooth, almost floating. The living crystal armor around her shifted into a sharper shape, ready for speed. Elias stood calmly, watching her. There was no nervousness in his face, no fear. Not even the tight jaw of a man preparing for pain. He simply breathed, shoulders loose, feet steady. It was that relaxed posture that confused the spectators the most. Most fighters tensed up before facing the princess. Elias looked like he was waiting for a conversation to begin. Saris circled him once. You don't hold a weapon, she said. I won't need one, he replied, as if discussing the weather. The crowd gasped. A few spectators laughed again, certain that the human was either incredibly brave or unbelievably foolish. Saris moved suddenly. One moment she stood several meters away. The next she dashed forward, leaving a thin streak of blue light behind. Her armor reacted faster than her muscles, forming a pointed edge along her arm to deliver a clean tap strike to Elias's shoulder, enough for a victory in ceremonial combat. But the strike never landed. Elias stepped aside with a smooth, almost lazy motion, as if he had known her exact path before she moved. The princess slid past him, her armor gleaming. She turned quickly, surprise flickering in her eyes. That was fast, Elias said quietly. But predictable. The murmur through the crowd turned into loud whispering. Sarah straightened, her armor shifting back to its neutral form. You read my movement? Gravely. You read my movement? I read your stance, he said. This time, she did not hesitate. She attacked again, faster and sharper. Her feet barely touched the ground as she spun, her armor creating a spiral of crystalline blades that aimed for his side. Anyone else would have been overwhelmed. But Elias leaned back, then stepped in close, slipping through the narrow space between her arm and torso. Sarris's armor registered a near hit, glowing for a moment, but no strike connected. Elias moved like water, quiet, flexible, impossible to pin down. He never counterattacked. He didn't reach for her or even raise a hand. He simply avoided her blows, always one step ahead of her shifting armor. Alien spectators shouted in disbelief. He's dodging the princess. That human is crazy. No one moves like that. Even the Aurelian guards exchanged glances. They had seen many challengers fail, but none had moved with such calm precision. Sarris jumped back, giving herself distance. Her eyes studied Elias more seriously now. She moved her palm across her armor, and the crystal plates lit up for a moment, adjusting for a higher combat mode. You're skilled, she said. More than I expected. And you're faster than the rumors, Elias answered. She gave a small breath of amusement. Then stop dodging and try to strike me. Try to strike me. He shook his head. Not yet. Sarris narrowed her eyes. She didn't understand him, and that bothered her more than anything. Usually, she could read a fighter's fear, pride, anger, or desperation. Elias showed none of those emotions. He wasn't trying to prove anything, and that made him unpredictable. She attacked again, this time with a long sweeping kick. Her armor extended into a crystalline arc that glowed bright blue. Elias crouched under it, sliding across the floor, then rose smoothly to his feet. A group of spectators cheered at the close call. Even Sarris looked briefly impressed. You trained as a soldier? She asked, stepping lightly across the floor. Once, he replied. You must have been a good one. I survived, he said softly. Something in his voice made her pause. It wasn't pride. It was experience heavy and honest. The kind that came from real battles, not ceremonial ones. Sarris didn't press the subject. Instead, she took a stance she rarely used, one that demanded more from the armor and from her body. The crystal plates pulsed in a deep rhythm. The air around her shimmered faintly, reacting to the energy flowing through the suit. The crowd quieted. They knew this form. It meant she was taking the fight seriously. She stepped forward, and the arena floor cracked slightly under the sudden force. Her movement blurred, her armor's glow becoming a streak of shifting light aimed straight at Elias's chest. This time, the human did not dodge easily. Sarris came at him with a combination of strikes, fast, sharp, unpredictable. Her movements were elegant but fierce, each one capable of winning the match if it landed cleanly. Elias stepped back, blocking air instead of her arms, leaning just enough to avoid contact. She swept her arm forward, creating a wave of crystal shards from her armor, not dangerous, but enough to pressure him. Elias ducked, but one shard brushed his sleeve, making him stumble slightly. The crowd roared. Sarris pressed in, her armor forming a sharp edge near her hand for the winning tap. But Elias regained balance instantly. He turned his body sideways, letting the strike pass harmlessly before taking a single, quiet step closer. Now he was directly inside her reach, close enough to touch her armor. The crowd went silent. Sarris froze. Her armor reacted instinctively, pulling back its sharp points and shifting into defensive mode. She looked down, realizing Elias's hand hovered near the central crystal at her chest, the one point that symbolized victory. If he touched it, the duel would end. But Elias didn't touch it. He stepped back. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Sarah stared at him, her breathing slightly faster from the intense exchange. "Why didn't you strike?" Quote, "Because the moment wasn't right," Elias said. "You weren't fighting me. You were fighting your armor." That confused her even more than his movements. "My armor is part of my skill," she said. "Maybe too much apart," he replied gently. Her eyes narrowed with frustration. Not at him, but at the truth she felt hidden in his words. She had relied on the suit her whole life. It was her strength, her pride, her identity. No one had ever questioned it. Elias stood calmly, hands at his sides. "You're good," he said. "Better than the suit lets you show." Saris clenched her jaw. Again, she rushed at him, faster than before, her armor blazing with light. Elias kept avoiding the blows. But now it was harder. Her movements were sharper, more unpredictable, more honest. She wasn't relying on the armor alone now. She was fighting from instinct. For the first time, Elias smiled. Saris landed a near hit, and the crowd gasped. Elias twisted away at the last second, then gently tapped the outer part of her wrist, not enough to count as a winning strike, but enough to show he could reach her. Her armor pulsed, surprised by the contact. Saris stepped back, breathing hard, eyes wide. "How?" she whispered. "Because you finally moved like yourself," Elias replied quietly. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the two fighters faced one another again, one armored in living crystal, the other armed with nothing but experience. The duel was far from over, and for the first time, Princess Saris looked truly alive. The arena felt different now. The air itself seemed heavier, as if the energy systems recognized that the duel had finally become real. Princess Saris stood straight, her armor glowing with a slow, steady pulse instead of the bright flashes from earlier. This was no longer a show, no longer a demonstration. For the first time in a long time, she was facing someone who challenged her, not with strength, but with understanding. Elias stood a few meters away, relaxed, as if the pressure in the room didn't exist. His simple clothes shifted gently with the faint hum of the arena. But he himself didn't move. His breathing was even, his eyes calm, patient, focused completely on her. Saris watched him with a new look in her silver eyes. Before, she had seen him as a reckless human trying to impress a crowd. But now she saw someone different, a fighter who chose not to hit even when he could, someone who wasn't trying to win quickly. Elias was watching her not as an enemy, but as if he was waiting for her to become something more. It bothered her, but it also pushed something deep within her chest, something she had not felt in years. A spark of excitement. A strange warmth of respect. She lifted her chin. "You said I was not fighting like myself," she said, voice clear in the arena. Elias nodded. "You were fighting like your armor wanted you to fight, not like you." Her crystal suit pulsed, almost as if reacting to the comment. Saris touched the crystal plates lightly, feeling the familiar warmth beneath her fingertips. This armor had been with her since childhood. She had trained with it, sparred with it, lived with it. It was part of her identity. Still, his words stayed in her mind. Saris stepped forward. "Then show me," she said. "Show me how I should fight." Elias shook his head. "I can't show you who you are, but I can help you see it." "I can see. I can't show you who you are." Before she could reply, he moved not with speed, but with purpose. A single step, then another, closing the distance. Saris reacted instantly, her armor sliding into a defensive pattern. She felt its weight and power, its readiness to protect her from anything. But for the first time, she also felt something else. A barrier. A distance between her and her own movement. Elias feinted to the left, then moved right. Saris followed. Her armor shifted into a sharp formation, trying to predict his movement. But Elias didn't strike. He simply watched the armor move. "It reacts before you think," he said. It protects me, she corrected. And it holds you back, he returned quietly. Saris's eyes narrowed. She launched forward, frustrated now, striking with a fast blow. Elias dodged again, leaning just enough to let the strike pass harmlessly. She spun, trying to catch him off guard with a follow-up kick, but he stepped back lightly. She attacked again, this time faster, the crystal plates glowing in sharp lines. Elias ducked, twisted, dodged a movement so smooth it felt choreographed. Each time she came close, he slipped away by a hair's width. Alien spectators shouted in disbelief. He's reading her armor. How is he doing that? My whole clan challenges her every cycle, none of us can even get near. But Saris heard none of them. Her world had narrowed to the man in front of her. She pushed the armor harder. Energy shimmered around her limbs, the crystal plates shifting into aggressive patterns. She struck at him once, twice, then a flurry of blows so fast that only the most trained eyes could follow. Elias stepped, ducked, turned, dodged. Not even a single hit landed. Saris felt sweat forming at the edge of her brow. Her breath grew heavier. Her armor throbbed with heat, its systems overworking. She stepped back, breathing hard. You're playing with me, she panted. Elias shook his head gently. If I were playing, I would have touched your armor by now. As if to prove it, he took 3 slow steps toward her. Saris moved on instinct, raising her arm for a defensive block. But Elias simply sidestepped. Then, with quiet precision, he reached out and tapped the crystal plate on her forearm. The tap was soft, barely more than a touch. But the arena sensors reacted immediately. A bright circle lit up around the exact point he touched. The crowd erupted into shocked cries. Even the guards stepped forward in alarm. Saris stared at her own arm, stunned. No one, in all her years of training and hundreds of ceremonial victories, had ever touched her armor in a duel. Not once. Elias stepped back, giving her space. That is one clean strike. The arena system chimed its confirmation, a tone that should end the duel. But Saris shook her head violently. No, she said, voice echoing through the arena. Not like this. The arena fell silent. Saris looked at Elias with something fierce in her eyes. Not anger, not wounded pride. Determination. You only touched me because I let the armor decide for me, she said quietly. I wasn't fighting. I was following. Elias tilted his head. Then stop following. Her hands curled into fists. Again, she whispered. Elias looked at her closely. Are you sure? Yes, she said, without hesitation. This time, I fight. Not the armor. The crystal suit hesitated, its glow flickering as if unsure of her request. No princess had ever commanded the armor to stand down in a duel. The suit was designed to protect, sometimes, too much. Saris placed both hands on her chest armor. She closed her eyes. The arena grew so quiet that even the hum of the lights seemed to dim. Then, slowly, the crystal plates began to loosen. Gasps filled the crowd. The armor detached one piece at a time, floating back from her body like petals lifting in the wind. Each shining plate hovered behind her, forming a circle of glowing crystal fragments. The princess now stood in a lighter suit, simple training fabric, flexible and breathable. Elias did not move. He didn't look triumphant. He didn't smile. He only watched her with the quiet respect of someone witnessing something important. Saris opened her eyes. Without the armor, she looked different, still regal, still strong, but more real. More human. Even though she was not human at all. Her silver eyes locked onto Elias. Again, she repeated softly. Now you face me. The arena lights shifted automatically, registering a second round. Elias raised his hands slowly, taking a loose defensive stance. Saris took one steady breath. And when she moved this time, it wasn't her armor. It was her. When Princess Saris moved without her armor, the difference was immediate. Before, her steps had been silent because the armor carried her weight. Now her feet touched the arena floor with real strength, real balance. Before, her attacks had left glowing streaks behind her because the crystal amplified her speed. Now her movements were pure, motion clean, sharp, controlled by nothing but her own will. Elias saw it instantly. Her stance lowered, her shoulders relaxed, and her silver eyes focused with a clarity he hadn't seen before. Without armor, she looked less like a royal symbol and more like a warrior, a real one. The crowd felt the change too. The arena went completely silent, as if everyone was holding their breath. Even the Aurelian guards looked surprised, unsure if they should intervene or simply witness history. Saris moved first, but not with aggression. She stepped lightly around Elias, studying him the way a dancer studies music. Elias stayed calm, following her movements with patience. His hands were up, loose but ready. "You look different," Elias said quietly. "I feel different," she replied. "Lighter, faster, more myself." He nodded. "Good." She paused only for a heartbeat before launching forward. This time, her strike came from instinct, not armor-guided patterns. Her fist aimed for his shoulder. A clean ceremonial hit if it landed. Elias stepped aside quickly, blocking her wrist with a soft tap. Not enough to count as a victory, just a reminder that he was still watching closely. Saris didn't let the miss bother her. She turned with surprising speed, sweeping her leg low. Elias jumped back, barely avoiding the sweep. Her attacks were not only faster than before, they were unpredictable. Her armor used to announce her movements with bright pulses. Without it, she was silent. A smile formed on Elias's face. "There you are," he said. Saris didn't answer. She kept attacking, movements fluid and sharp. Elias blocked one strike, dodged another, then countered with a gentle tap to her upper arm. It wasn't a winning tap, just a sign that he could reach her again. Saris stepped back, chest rising and falling as she breathed hard. "How do you do that?" she asked. "Feel. Don't think. Trust your body," Elias said. "You trained for years. Let that training speak." Saris swallowed, then nodded. She wiped sweat from her brow with the back of her hand. Without her armor cooling her, she actually felt heat now. The warm pulse of her own heartbeat. The burn in her muscles. It felt real. She charged again. This time, she moved like she had nothing to lose. Her thoughts were not about form or tradition or how a princess should fight. They were about the moment, the rhythm, the flow. Elias dodged her first punch, but she twisted mid-motion and nearly clipped his side with her elbow. He stepped back, impressed. "You're adapting fast," he said. "You forced me to," she replied between breaths. "Good. Adapt more." She attacked again, faster now, sweat sliding down her temples. Her fists came in, a flurry, left, right, elbow, sweep. Elias blocked 3 strikes, dodged 2, then leaned back from the last one. Saris pressed in closer, not giving him time to breathe. Her speed was gaining on him. The crowd began shouting excitedly. No one had ever seen the princess without armor, much less moving like this. Every motion carried determination, pride, and something strange, joy. Elias stepped sideways to reset the distance, but Saris followed instantly. Her instincts were sharp. She threw a punch at his shoulder. He deflected. She aimed a kick at his knee. He dodged. She twisted for a final strike aimed at his ribs, and this time, Elias had to roll back to avoid it. The spectators roared at this rare sight. Someone actually making Elias retreat. Saris landed lightly, her chest heaving, her face glowing with effort and excitement. I almost got you, she said, a small smile appearing. You're getting close, Elias agreed. She shifted her stance, determination burning stronger now. I want to earn this victory, not through armor, not through tradition, through skill. Elias nodded. Then come take it. She attacked once more. Now the duel looked like a dance, fast, unpredictable, impossible for most eyes to follow. Saris was giving everything she had. Her strikes were faster than earlier, her reactions more instinctive. Elias blocked her wrist, ducked her elbow, then spun away from a sharp kick. Saris followed him, refusing to let him escape. She threw a punch at his shoulder. He caught her wrist gently. She twisted free and tried again. But Elias stepped in close. It was in that brief closeness, barely a second, that the moment arrived. Elias slipped through her guard and lightly tapped her shoulder. A clean strike. The arena lit up, sensors ringing softly. The crowd exploded in noise, shocked gasps, cheers, disbelief. Saris stood frozen, staring at the spot Elias had touched. Not her armor this time. Not the crystal suit. Her. A clean strike on the princess herself. For a long moment, she said nothing. Her chest rose and fell. Her eyes stared at Elias with confusion, surprise, and something deeper respect. Elias stepped back, letting her breathe. That, he said softly, is a clean victory. Saris lowered her gaze. Not in shame, but in understanding. She wasn't angry. She wasn't hurt. She was thinking. She looked up again. How did you know where I would move? I didn't, he replied. I watched you. You moved honestly. And honest movement can be read. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the words settle. When she opened them again, something had changed inside her. She looked more certain, more steady, more herself than she had ever looked in her armor. You didn't beat me because I was weak, she said quietly. You beat me because you let me see my own strength. Elias nodded. Your armor gave you protection. But without it, you found your real skill. Crime. Tryman. Saris took a slow breath. You could have claimed victory earlier, she said. You had many chances. Rain day. No sea. I wasn't fighting to win, Elias said gently. I was fighting to show you what you already had. Saris stared at him, overwhelmed by the honesty in his voice. For the first time in years, she felt humbled. Not by defeat, but by the lesson. The arena went silent as she slowly bowed her head, a gesture Aurelians rarely gave to anyone. Thank you, she whispered. Elias bowed respectfully in return. Behind them, the armor pieces floating in a circle slowly drifted downward, glowing softly, as though they too understood something had changed. The duel was over. But the story was far from finished. The arena was still buzzing with shocked whispers when Princess Saris finally stepped back from Elias. The giant circle of floating armor pieces drifted behind her like a silent audience, glowing faintly. She looked at Elias with steady eyes. No anger, no disappointment, only understanding, and a strange sense of relief. For the first time since she became heir to the Aurelian Empire, she had been defeated without shame. She had lost, but she had grown, and the crowd could feel it. The arena shield lowered slowly, releasing a soft wave of cool air. Aurelian guards rushed forward, unsure whether to approach the princess or keep their distance. Saris raised a hand, and they stopped instantly. I am unharmed, she said firmly. He is my honored opponent. I'm zero, she said. I'm zero. I'm zero. Just in the context. The guards bowed their heads. Spectators from dozens of species watched in awe as the princess walked toward the edge of the arena. Her steps light and confident even without the crystal armor that usually defined her presence. Elias followed at a respectful distance. He did not expect anything, no reward, no title, no praise. He had done what he came to do. Help her see the strength she had buried beneath tradition and armor. But the galaxy had witnessed something far greater. As they reached the platform's exit, voices rose around them. A human defeated the princess. He didn't even take advantage of the victory. He fought with honor. He taught her something. Elias ignored the whispers. He didn't fight for attention. He fought because someone needed the truth. And she had listened. Sarah stopped at the platform's edge and turned to him. "Walk with me," she said quietly. He nodded. And together, they stepped into the plaza walkway. The station lights cast gentle shadows across their path. The noise of the arena began to fade behind them, replaced with the soft hum of Valérine Prime's busy halls. Saris walked without speaking for several moments. Elias let her think. She deserved whatever silence she needed. Finally, she said, "I wore that armor since I was a child. My people always said it was my strength. They said it made me untouchable." Her voice softened. "But now I understand. It also made me unreachable." Elias nodded. "It protected you, but it isolated you." She glanced at him. "You saw that, from the start." "Yes." Saris breathed deeply. "No one dared challenge me honestly before. They all fought my armor. Not me." She looked down at her hands. "You fought the person, not the symbol." Elias smiled faintly. "Symbols can't grow. People can." She stopped walking and faced him fully. "Elias Ward, you have done something no one else has. You fought me. You defeated me. And then you walked away from the victory. Like it meant nothing." Her silver eyes softened. "You showed me truth when no one else would." Some guards shifted nervously nearby, unsure if they should interrupt. But Saris waved them off with a small gesture. "I want you to stay," she said. "As my advisor. My guide in the ways of your kind. Your people are different. Honest, in a way that Aurelians often forget." Elias shook his head gently. "I didn't fight to gain a position." "It would be more than a position," she insisted. "You could help me change things. Help me teach my people that strength is not found only in protection, but in understanding." He admired her ambition. She was brave, braver than she knew, but he also knew the truth. "Change must come from you," he said softly, "not from a human standing beside you." Saris looked hurt for a moment, then thoughtful. "You think I can do this alone?" "I think you already started," Elias replied. She looked down. "You are refusing me?" Somehow, her voice did not contain pride or anger. It contained sincerity. Elias took a calm breath. "I'm saying my purpose here wasn't to stay. I came to help start something. Now it's your turn to carry it forward." Saris nodded slowly, processing his words. She wasn't used to refusal, not angry refusal, but gentle, respectful refusal. Aurelians rarely heard no, because most were too intimidated to say it. But Elias wasn't intimidated. He respected her, but he wouldn't let her rely on him the way she once relied on her armor. Saris lifted her head again. "Then, will you accept something else? A token of honor. A symbol of respect from me, for what you taught me." Elias thought about it. A reward wasn't necessary, but refusing something so heartfelt might hurt her dignity. So he nodded. "I'll accept a token," he said. Her armor pieces floated forward, glowing gently. She touched one of the smaller plates. A shard, no bigger than a hand. "This piece comes from the heart center of my armor," she said softly. "It is a symbol of the bond between warrior and suit. I give it to you freely." She placed the crystal shard in his hands. It shone with calm blue light before fading to soft silver, as if adjusting to a new owner. Elias bowed his head. "Thank you." Saris smiled, really smiled, not the formal polite curve she usually wore. He nodded. "And you showed courage." A silence settled between them, not heavy, but peaceful. After a moment, Saris stepped back. "Elias Ward, will I see you again?" He offered a gentle smile. "The galaxy is big, but paths cross in unexpected ways." She accepted that answer. Not happily, but with grace. Elias turned and walked away, moving through the bright halls of Valoran Prime. He didn't rush. He didn't hide. He walked with the calm confidence of someone who knew he had done the right thing. Behind him, Princess Saris watched his figure grow smaller. She stood tall, armor floating behind her like a silent guardian. But something had changed. She no longer leaned on the armor for identity. She no longer needed its glow to feel strong. For the first time, she felt like she could stand alone, truly alone, and still face anything. The crowd slowly began to disperse. Whispers of the duel traveled through the station. The human who touched the armor. The princess fought without her suit. He refused power. He taught her something. And among the many voices, a single message grew stronger, spreading across the galaxy like a spark of light. A human walked away from an alien princess. Armor removed. Pride intact. And an empire began to change.